It is back. So again, sorry, just to reiterate, so it is Good Friday tomorrow, and for those in the UK, we have our bank holiday on Monday as well. So I will still be trading on Monday as long as the market is open, which I believe it is. I think it's just Good Friday where we are closed tomorrow, so I will be obviously away from the desk. I think I'm actually going to do a bit of a remastered addition to the masterclass. I'm going to go through those videos are probably 2 years old now, some of those, so I'm going to go through that and do a big refresher, add some new content. I might even get ChatGTP to help sort of make the course itself better in terms of the layout, the length of the videos, blah 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 blah. So that's my project for the next couple of days, if not a couple of weeks, get all that looking really good, as good as I can anyway, with some new updated content. So yeah, I think there's still a 50% offer on that course till the end of the month, I think, so it's an absolute bargain. So if anyone doesn't want to get that, get involved. You are going to get updated new content, which is going to be great. So going back to yesterday's price action, I'm going to just break down the session that we had, that being Wednesday, and then I'm also going to just zoom out on the 4 hour and the daily, just on the higher time frame, just to kind of show you what I expect and sort of where we are. So just looking straight at yesterday's price action, not taking into account anything prior to that, all I want to really discuss is straight away, I have these, again, I coded some indicators last night. It's fairly straightforward. It's just an overnight extension. So overnight 61.8 and then the overnight 50. Okay, so just so I can see, you can see here I have my overnight high, my overnight low. This is a free indicator on TradingView. Feel free to pinch it, MGI levels. I don't like to see too many lines on my screen, so I have the lines off. But if you can see, when I hover, you can see it shows the overnight high, the previous day RTH high. I just do not like too many lines on my screen because I already use fibs, so there's already quite a lot of lines, so I take the lines off. You can have whatever you want on here. I just have previous day high and low, and open high and low, and you can change the labels as well. So but anyway, that's beside the point. So that is what I have, and again, where did we run up into yesterday? Pretty much ATR on the open. You had 2 ATR bars, not 3, so it wasn't a trend continuation day, to the upside anyway. You above the open, below the open, back above the open. So what does that already tell us? Above, below, back above. Choppy, right? Choppy from the start. Took out the highs, ran up into the 61.8, which I think Celsius, or I never remember, someone mentioned about the 61.8 from the overnight short. That was pretty much what we came up into. And again, you would measure that from your overnight high to your overnight low, and that would be your 61%, right? It just helps visualize it. I'm quite lazy. I don't like to plot these things. I'd rather get something to do it for me. And then what happened is we had an ATR bar ran up into that 61.8, got below the open. This is your open price here. This is your open price print from the New York local time, so 9:30 open. What did we then do? We traded a halfway back. Now, this is where the sequences from the masterclass really come into play, right? What do? We get below the open, we run back up into the open, trap longs into this area potentially, because if you're longing the support, and then obviously it just absolutely sunk lower, and completing all the way into that negative 100. Now, once we completed that negative 100, you have micro low to lows in here. And the first low to low that traded, and it's really important to see this, is because this is what set up the long. Now, I was getting chopped up trying to long the 23, but I need to just tell myself, those better extensions, those better trades are going to come at that 62, just because it's in between that 23 and negative 100. So negative 100 is also a really obviously good trade to take on an exhaustion trade. You very rarely get negative 100s on higher time frames because it's just such an aggressive trade. But on this kind of time frame, on a 5-minute time frame, you can see we traded that first low to low. So for those who've got the masterclass, you know what I'm referring to. We traded the low to low, and we completed the negative 62. Now, the negative 62 completed, took out the low, and then what did we do? Did not even test or create a wick at 3:30. Now, for those who trade volume profile, some of you will be aware of the last half hour of the day. I think it's called It's not AXS, I don't think it's called. Well, for anyone out there that trades volume profile, what is the terminology for the last period of the day? It may be AXS. I think it's AXS, something like that. Anyway, the last half an hour of the day tends to have quite a dramatic shift on the market, okay? And you can see yesterday, this was obviously, you know, you had a lot of market on close orders, and you also had that negative 62 completion and obviously short throughout the day. So pretty much from the open high all the way to the low, we came down 620 points to then pretty much close half of that. So we ended up pretty much closing at that RTH halfway back. Now that RTH halfway back would be measuring the high to low, and we came right up into that midpoint. And that is pretty much where we closed the day. Now, I don't know why my other time on here isn't on. Let me just put that on. Am I blind? Give me 1 second. Yeah, so that is your close there at 4 o'clock. So I have my green open and then the close at 4. And again, we ran up into the RTH halfway back short on the day, which that, just so you can see on the screen, that would be a full RTH halfway back, okay, which is also that midpoint. So again, mean reversion onto the close, 62% low to low short completion, short covering, and also you had that AXS the last half an hour of the day. Also, which I'm going to talk about in a second, on the 4-hour time frame, doesn't have to be the 4-hour time frame, but you'll see the higher time frame, as I mentioned in the room yesterday, was the 79% fade long that traded last week. That same anchor new high was the 38% support. Now that's when we traded that, I put it in the room. I think someone asked me what that was. That is your same anchor new high, 38. This is my fib settings that you can get in the Discord. I do not need to, this is not me being rude, this is why I do not need to have the levels on here, because I know the levels, right? If you've been doing this long enough and are obsessed with this game as much as I am, or as much as, you know, we all are to some degree, not that it's all about me, but like, I know what these levels are, right? And I understand not everyone will, but ask questions, also use the content in the useful information channel. And these are the levels I have. There's nothing special about these levels. There is nothing special about these levels, okay? They are just mathematical measurements from ranges. That's all they are. 0 and the 1 are your high and low. 50 is 50% of that range. 62 is 62% of that range. 61.8 is the golden ratio, so sometimes I just round it up to 62. Again, 79%. Nothing special about that range. All it is a 79% discount from the high and the low. That's all it is. The negative 23, what is it? It's a negative 23.6% from the high of the high and the low. Meaning, if we are long at the 50, selling into the 23, you've made the difference between the 50% and the negative 23.6%. You do not buy breakouts. We sell breakouts. In terms of, if you're long at the 50, you sell at the negative 23, which is the breakout of that pivot high, pivot low, retracement, target, target, target. Hopefully that makes sense. Just thought I'd give a bit of a description on that. Not that anyone's really asked, but so I think someone did ask me the other day what this extension was. And again, it's the 38% retracement, right? In and of itself, nothing special about the 38% retracement. It's how you use it in confluence with everything else that we teach in this room, right? So that leads me on to today. So what do we have on my screen currently on the half an hour time frame? Yesterday's open. Rejection so far, meaning nothing right now. It's just a rejection, potential pullback to buy, but that's just what that is. This is also the 6 p.m. open when futures open, okay? That's what that line is. We have the overnight low on there again. I don't like labels, or I don't like too much on my charts, but it's the overnight low, okay? We also have RTH low from yesterday, RTH high from yesterday, and we have the overnight highs. You don't have to have these on your screen. You do not have to have these on your screen. I just like to see them to know where we are. And again, this indicator is on TradingView. Feel free to get it. It's useful. But again, you don't have to have it. That is pretty much where we are. Now, how do I trade this current action. Some of you are probably thinking, well, where do we draw our extensions now? And you would be right to think it's fairly difficult, because I would want a full traditional back down into the open, okay? And it would coincide with holding overnight lows, etc., etc. There isn't really anything in here for me, so what I have to do is go down to the lower time frame. And what I have to do when we get into this lower time frame, I can see market participants stepped in at that basically market on close. Why is that market on close so significant? Again, I did put this in the room last night. The market on close, we had lots of imbalances, which typically lead to bullish action into the next trading day, which is a nice glimpse into being able to follow, quote unquote, I hate the phrase, smart money. But anyway, from that point, I draw from that ATR low. That ATR low, that ATR bar coincides with what? The 38% retracement from the same anchor new high. What is this also? This is an over, back, this is an under, back over. Halfway back, ATR rebalance, back above the same anchor new high. Starts to click, right? We then complete negative 100. Entry, 50%. Negative 23, again. Low, pivot high, 23% above. Targets, sells off, rallies into the next target, ATR into the target, 61.8% of the range, meaning it's 61% of this range here. This range was, if this range was 200, this would be 62% of that range. Okay, so whatever the point difference is, in simple terms, if this was a 100-point range, from this high to this 62 would be 62 points, right? 62% of that range, or 61.8 points. And again, same on the completion of the negative 100. This range here, low to high, is 100% of that range. And you can see 179, give or take, because I'm not doing it to the actual pivot high, pivot low, but you get the point. What do we then do? We go same anchor new high. Where do we come down to? The 50. What happens at that 50? We react. How much do we react by? Firstly, we ATR down into the target, which is perfect. You want to see fear into targets, just what Tom Dainty teaches. Okay, reaction from the 50. What do? We complete, we don't complete, but we rally for 166 points. Now completions is back into yesterday's high, so I will be a participant of longs in around this area. Okay, 50 to the 62. Again, full traditional is going to be, from yesterday's open, full traditional is going to be down there at 384s. Now, if you want to be, the more conservative buyer, I would be longing or trying to long at that halfway back. It's the most fairest value from yesterday, in my opinion, right? However, if we don't get that entry, what you might get is this 38, same anchor new high, currently 38% of the range. It's not the same anchor new high because it hasn't traded yet, to the 62, right? That 62 is from the extension that has traded, same anchor new high has traded. This is your traditional draw, low to high, that hasn't yet traded the halfway back. So that 38 technically isn't valid. The reason I'm having it on my screen is just because it's in the same vicinity as the 50 and the 62 of the anchor that has traded, if that makes sense, right? It should make sense. It shouldn't sound confusing, because it's an extension that's traded, and it's another extension that has reacted on it so far. So therefore it's valid, right? It's valid until it isn't. Just like everything in trading, you play them until they break. You never know what is going to happen next. No one knows what's going to happen next. Just like Mark Douglas says, you take your trades based on the law of non-large numbers. And just like he says, you are never going to know what's going to happen when you get into a trade. All you can do is have somewhat of a probabilistic mindset and accept whatever does happen is out of your control, and that's okay. That's absolutely okay, right? So, with that being said, bids will be in around this area, and maybe I miss it. Maybe we rally from the open, and again, that's okay, right? Because we miss a trade. What's going to happen tomorrow? The market will be closed. But what happens the next day, or the next day, and 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 the next day? There's another trade. So it's okay. We don't need to be worried about missing trades, right? I haven't traded any of my XFA accounts all week. Am I okay? Yes, I'm fine. Have I got FOMO that I could have traded them a couple of days? No, it literally does not bother me. because I have enough money in there and have requested payouts, and I'm happy. I'm happy with what I've got, right? Could I have made more? Yes. But what does that matter? What does that matter? If you're just chasing the numbers, this is probably not the best thing to be doing, in my opinion. Because the numbers aren't going to satisfy you. The bigger they get, they won't. You'll get numb to it to some point. So that is where I am leaning into the day. I would say I'm neutral to bullish. Obviously, we are in a downtrend. We do have to be cautious that we did sell off on that 61 from the overnight from yesterday. So that level is going to be, I would like to see it get tested today at least. But if we don't get up there, then obviously we will continue to go lower. But I would like to play the long extensions until they break. And if we do trade a short, then obviously I will try to get involved in a low to low short. The only problem I have is you're most likely going to need to be breaking much lower in order for me to get a short, which then begs the question, is it worth taking a short when on the daily time frame we are still above this ATR to the upside? So I have to be still bullish, okay? And again, just because I can't catch a long doesn't mean I take a short, right? Okay. Any questions, please let me know. I will jump into the Discord just to see if there's any questions. And if there aren't, which I don't think there are, let me just check. And also, guys, be sure to check out the news feed in the Discord, right? It's from Financial Juice. Yes, not every single notification is going to be relevant. However, some of the big hard-hitting news events will hopefully come through fairly quickly and fairly synced up in real time. So I was using that yesterday, and it is a nice little feature. So that's in there under CMP Trading, the first channel in the category of CMP Trading in the Discord. So again, if there aren't any questions, I will jump off the mic. This is your time to ask questions if there are any, but it's can't see any, so I'm going to just assume there isn't any. And I will jump over to my trading